Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky?
Welcome everyone to my latest action figure review, as I have the Medicom Mafex Winter Soldier based on the sequel movie Captain America the Winter Soldier. So released in 2014, 10 years on, is still regarded as one of the best movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This figure was released around 3 months ago alongside the stealth suit Captain America, and having recently seen of course the Captain America the classic suit, I thought this was a must in the collection. So most of mine do consist of the SH Figure Arts line for the MCU, but since they never did one for the Winter Soldier, this is even more anticipated. Inside we have the slip to say it's a certifying genuine product, as well as its transparent stand which we see all the time. And here is the Winter Soldier inside its packaging. Before we take a look at the figure itself, this is the overview of all the accessories included. As you may already know, there are no guns included for this figure, which I will discuss in a bit more detail later on, and try out some other ones from different companies. However, we're never sure on the interchangeability from Medicom, so once again there's plenty of them. So here is the first look at the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes from Captain America the Winter Soldier. One of the best movies in the MCU, a fan favorite, and of course this look is probably one of the most memorable for Bucky. And looking at this figure, first impressions, I guess I'm not surprised on how good this has turned out to be. Everyone that Medicom have done so far for the Marvel line has been excellent. Most of the time it is spot on. Now I don't have all of them in my collection of course, but from what I've been seeing in video reviews or even in person, I guess they are challenging the other lines, whether it's Hasbro or To Machinations, in producing the best version of the character. And this is even more exciting and anticipated simply because To Machinations never gave us the Winter Soldier. They did cancel their prototype all those years ago, and I just don't see them doing it anymore. It's been all those years, so this is the one to really go for. And of course the Winter Soldier has that really classic look, and the standout of course is that metal arm, and notice the red star to represent the Soviet Union. And the rest of it, we have all the details, of course the belt, and then we have also the belt on the waist. And we have all the sheaths. He has 3 knives included, so you can see that it does have the pockets for them. And just a lot of detail on this. Guessing the proportions are meant to be spot on. I do trust what Medicom have done here. I do like it. Now the only thing I would say is probably the hair sculpts could be slightly better. Of course it does represent Sebastian Stan, Bucky, and I will say that most of the time their likeness is good. This one isn't perfect. Maybe the other hair sculpts would be better, simply kind of covers the mouth and the eyes. But this one I still like. I think it's very detailed alongside the hairstyle, which is actually pretty cool. So yeah, I guess first impressions, I really like this. And having picked up of course Captain America, the classic suit, we can now recreate that final fight between the two. And I know in the movie, most of the Winter Soldier scenes in the battles, it was fighting a Steve Rogers in the casual clothes. But then of course towards the end of the movie, this is the look you really want. So I highly recommend picking up the Captain America as well if you have the Winter Soldier, and vice versa. So first impressions, of course, an excellent sculpt, and it's probably even one of the best likenesses to Bucky Barnes I have in my collection at the moment. And I will do a full comparison later on, but just a quick look next to the Marvel Legends. This is the Civil War version, and also the SH Figure Arts, the Infinity War one. And as you can see, they are very different in terms of the looks. Maybe Civil War one is very similar in terms of the attire, but so far I think the Mafex one trumps the other two. So first impressions, I really like this. Moving on to the different accessories, let's start off with the alternative hands. So including the ones right out of the box, there are a total of 8 different sets of hands, so 16 in total for a variety of poses. So the standard ones out of the box are the closed-fisted hands for Bucky to throw some punches. For the second set of hands, we have a pair of relaxed palms, kind of like a grappler look, but this is more for that natural look. The third set of hands are indeed some grappler hands with the slightly clinched fingers. For the fourth set of hands, we have another pair of kind of palm hands, and this can be used for any grappler look or even when he's about to throw the shield. For the fifth set of hands, we do have in fact the ones for him to throw the shield. Of course it does have the plastic pieces connected to it, which of course we need to place the shield on. And the next pair, we have a set of hands to hold on to the knives. And we also have another pair of hands to hold on to another set of knives, since they are different styles. And yes, last but not least, we do have a set of trigger hands for you to place some guns in. Even though they are not included in this figure, you can use some third party or some weapons lying around from the other figures. And now we can take a look at the different weapons. So there are 3 knives included. 2 of them look very similar to each other. So they are placed in one of the sets of hands to give him that dynamic pose for some fighting displays. So when the Winter Soldier isn't using the knives, of course you can place it at the back of the belt, as you can see with the 2 sheaths. So that's what I'm going to do now. So obviously it does come with a third knife, which we'll take a look later on. So whilst he's not using these ones, you can just slip them easily into the back of the sheath. And here is the third knife placed in the hand for an action pose. And of course, when we're not using the third knife, we can also place it on the sheath on the side of the belt. And now we can take a look at the shield, which in my opinion is the standout accessory included for this figure. As you can see, it has all the smudge and damage to it. I just feel the paint is really realistic. So this is no doubt a great looking shield. So just a quick comparison with the Mafex Captain America Classic Suit version, which also has some damage, but I just prefer this simply because of the paint. So on the back of the shield, this is kind of standard for Mafex. So when he's throwing the shield, it does have the short belts, but then you can remove one of the sides. And then you can also place the long one in. So it does have a weak connection, which I would have preferred if it was slightly better, but it is what it is, it still works. And here's a quick comparison with the SH Figuarts Avengers Endgame shield, which also has some damage, but it's no contest in terms of the amount of paint used on the Mafex one. And here's a quick comparison in terms of the size with a Hasbro Marvel Legends from a Captain America Endgame version. And now we can take a look at the alternative head sculpt. So they have included 2 extra ones from the standard look. So as I mentioned, the normal Bucky look is actually decent, but it could be slightly better in terms of the likeness. So here is the alternative one. So the first one is just the face mask, and it kind of just has the main focus around the eyes. It gives him kind of that menacing look for the Winter Soldier. So I do like it. In terms of the hairstyle, I believe it's more or less the same. Not much difference in terms of what I'm seeing. And then for the third head sculpt, you can see it's the one that covers the eyes as well with those goggles. So this one is probably the one that you want to pair up with the guns. So this also has a good look. And here is the ultimate look you can do with the Winter Soldier with the knife and shield. And here is the connection of the shield with the throwing hand. So one of the main things, of course, is there are no guns included for the Winter Soldier, and that is just due to some sort of ban. And I know that some other companies do have guns, so I'm not really sure what's going on. And for the Winter Soldier especially, there is a Revoltech version as well, which also didn't include guns, so you can buy some sort of third-party set. But at the moment, for the time being, I use some guns from the different figures I have lying around. So here he is holding onto a pistol, and also holding on to a submachine as well as a rifle. So in terms of the guns not included, of course they could be fixed later on, really depends on licensing. And if the reason is because of kids that can get hold of this, I think that's not very a valid reason, just due to that kids won't really buy this figure. And the other reason is, even if they don't see the Winter Soldier holding guns in a figure, they can just watch the film and it's kind of the same effect. And now for the articulation, so the movement of the Bucky figure. So let's start off with the head sculpt, of course, and it can move side to side, although the hair kind of gets in the way at the back. So just be very careful when you're turning it side to side. But there's no problems in terms of moving it downwards. And then upwards, we do have slight limitations due to the hairstyle once again. And then tilting it side to side, there is some movement. And then there is also movement if you turn it round and round with the neck. And then for the arms, of course, there's limitations. Of course, moving side to side is no problem. And then it can go forwards, upwards as well, backwards, and then all the way back like this. And then we can also stretch the arms. You can see the swivel there. You can move it all the way back, which is good motion, and then forwards as well. And then, of course, we should have the usual arm bends. And there's also a bicep swivel, as you can see, with the different joints to the top. And then we also have the turn on the hand, although it does come off slightly. So just be careful, and it should be able to do a slight hinge. And then for the body, you can see there's the upper half, which of course allows good movement side to side. You can go all the way around 360 if you want. You can turn it side to side, and of course good motion downwards and then backwards quite a lot. So far so good. And then for the waist, you can see that the belt is a separate area as I mentioned, but you can see it kind of turns side to side, although you can kind of hear the sound on this. So out of the box it is going to be very stiff. And then you can kind of have a forwards crunch, and then we can move it backwards as well. And then the belt you can turn if you want, of course, but there's really no need for that. And then for the legs, they do the stretch, which is very simple. And you can also pull the legs down, but you can kick them forwards and then backwards. And there's a good swivel around the legs as well. And then of course we have the knee bend as expected. And you can see it's kind of double jointed with the knee pad. And then we also have good movement, I'm sure, for the legs. The boots don't move, but you can move the feet. They turn side to side and also hinge side to side. And there's also a toe hinge. So for the Winter Soldier, of course, it is basic kind of articulation, but he will need to be in some dynamic poses, especially when he's using the weapons. So now we can take a look at the size comparison, starting off with the Mafex Captain America, the classic suit from Captain America the Winter Soldier, as well as an SH Figuarts Black Widow from Avengers Assemble. And here it is next to some more SH Figuarts with Bucky Barnes from Avengers Infinity War, as well as Captain America from Avengers Assemble. And here it is next to the SH Figuarts Falcon from Avengers Infinity War, as well as the SH Figuarts Bucky himself from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And here it is next to some Marvel Legends with Captain America from Avengers Endgame, as well as Bucky from Captain America Civil War. And for some Marvel vs Capcom, here it is next to the Jada Toy Street Fighter line with Ken and then Bison, or Vega in Japan. So now for my final thoughts on the Mafex Winter Soldier from Captain America the Winter Soldier. Anyone who owns this figure is unlikely to say a bad word about it, simply because it is Bucky Winter Soldier. This absolutely blows every Bucky away in my collection and fits right into what I expected, especially after picking up the Captain America classic suit. This is undoubtedly one of the best Bucky figures compared to say Marvel Legends or SH Figuarts. For one, it's going to be the best quality, and two, it has that excellent damage shield, although the Revoltech, based on what I'm seeing, may challenge this in terms of the overall look. I have no problems with the head sculpts, they all look great, although I say I prefer the mask versions over the standard one. There's also the 3 knives included for a variety of poses, and 8 sets of hands, which you can't really ask for more. The elephant in the room is obviously no guns, which I feel does somewhat take points of this. I know there's plenty of sets out there, you can always have guns lying around, but I'll rather have them included. Other than that, I only have praise for this figure. Tamashii Nations did not make this, so there's less competition. And since all the Mafex figures in this line have turned out well, I can only guess Black Widow will be next in the works, which would be the first Mafex version of her. So my score is an 8.5 out of 10. This was almost up there with the classic suit cap, just no guns was the reason. Check out the cap review and stay tuned to other content related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and thanks for watching.